Hi, welcome to Scofield Farm. This morning I am going to talk to you about the tomatoes that we're choosing to grow this year. It's a little bit later of a video than I was hoping, but I did promise for it. And I have all of my tomatoes cupped up. We started them from seed inside under some lights, and then I have them all transitioned to cups. It is middle March, middle to end of March, March 23rd. And I'm going to go through the varieties we chose for our garden. We like to grow lots of varieties. I like to grow lots of varieties. We usually have about 60 or so tomato plants in our garden, and I like to do all different flavors, colors, shapes, sizes. So I'll show you what's included today with us. And also, look at that beautiful Hellebore. My grandma passed a year ago in February. She loved flowers. She was a flower gardener. So a lot of us took home different plants of hers. I took this home and I had no idea what it was going to be. I've never grown them before, and it has just been absolutely lovely. The flowers have made me smile back here on the porch when I am taking care of all of my little starts. I seriously think it's beautiful, and I love flowers. The lilacs I showed you at the very start remind me of my grandma. I have a china plate that she painted of lilacs, and we'd always talk about it. I sent her pictures of my lilacs blooming outside my bedroom window, and here they are blooming. So I'm thinking of you, Grandma. Okay, let's get started with the type of tomatoes, and I'll kind of show you what my starts look like so far and what I do with cups and stuff as we go. So I like to start my tomatoes from seed. They're actually pretty easy. I put them in little trays that are 1-inch little cells. I put a dome over them. Then I have lights that are actually LED lights. I will put the information in the description below of how I do it. I got them on Amazon. They're considered shop lights, but if you have a certain color and power, then you can use shop lights. And so I'll grow them pretty close. I'll put them pretty close to the tomatoes when they start to sprout, and then I'll move them up as they go, and then I'll cup them up to cups. And I like to use cups from like my favorite coffee shop, because then I'm reusing them. And I drill little holes in the bottom so that I can bottom water and they can drain. And then I bought a few more from a kitchen store. I think it's called like the Chef Store or something. I think they have them all over the country, just to fill in the amount of cups I didn't have left. So the first ones, they're kind of all mixed up because I will change the trays in what's in the sun, what's in partial sun and shade, and then what is getting bottom watered based on what's needed. I don't just water everything evenly. I water things based on if it looks like it's dry. Like this one's starting to get a little bit dried out on top, but it's not light. You can kind of feel the weight if something's dry as well. And they do best when you bottom water them, because then just like out in the garden or in the ground, they will soak up water from the bottom, and they'll get the roots to reach down for water and look for it, which is what you want them to do when you transplant them in the garden. So that is, I'm very, very it's a little meticulous, and I baby them, but it always, always helps my plants do better. Last year we had someone check on our tomato and pepper starts when we were down seeing my son, who's in college in Southern California, for Easter break, and they top watered them. They had them just sit in overwatered, and it put all of these different nightshade starts stunted and struggling. Some of them died. And so it was, the only year I didn't have control of the watering, of making sure it was bottom watered when needed. And so it even made me more convinced of how important it is to do it this way. Okay, let's start talking about varieties. As I said, they'll be a little bit mixed up. And so I might have hurt that one by picking at it. I'm a picker sometimes. Okay, so the first one I want to show you is Dr. White's, I think it's said. It is a yellow tomato. It is like what would you call it, like a beefsteak kind of size. This is delicious. It's an heirloom. We've had it in our garden quite a bit. I like yellow and orange tomatoes a lot. They seem to be a variety that I am drawn to. So that one has been in our garden lots of times. I'm growing an emerald apple. It is a green tomato, and it's a little more of a tangy. You have to really know if it's right by the feel of it. And for this one, I tried to grow it, I think 1 year, and my starts died. And so then I tried last year, and I had the problem with the watering from the person who was kindly taking care of my starts, who wasn't a gardener. So that one died, and then I had sold the other ones to local gardeners, so I didn't have a backup for myself. So this one is going to for sure get my garden this year so that we can try it I also grow green zebra, which I can't find here yet. It'll be here, but I like that one that's green. So I like having, as I said, all the colors of the rainbow, all the different flavor profiles, some tangy, some really sweet, some savory. I like all the types. And so those two will be there. This is Roma. It's the actual Roma. And I like to have some paste tomatoes for, I say I'm going to can. I have not canned tomatoes ever. I usually freeze them. We eat tons and tons fresh. We have 7 kids. We have a large family. We eat every Sunday lunch with my sister's large family and my mom, and we use what we have from our garden. So I always say I'm going to can, but I do eat a ton of tomatoes, and then we'll actually freeze them in gallon Ziplocs. And then I'll often use them to make like sauce for lasagna, or I'll put them in a stew and lentils and chili, that kind of stuff. And so Roma do get used a lot, and they are reliable paste tomatoes. They're nice thick sauces. Let's see, I mentioned green zebra. This one we have grown before, a green tomato. We like that one. That one is one we are definitely doing again. I have Milano plum. I grew this last year for the first time. It's another like paste-sized tomato. I got it from Redwood Seeds. We liked it. It did well for us. It's nice. We are Northern California. Redwood Seeds is also Northern California. They are in the same county we are. So any kind of seeds that they sell are usually really good for our area. When you buy from a seed company that has a similar climate or area to you, a lot of times the seeds are like acclimated to really thrive in your area. We found that with Redwood Seeds. They're also a family-owned business. I went to junior high with the owner, Kaylin, and so I love to support her. All right, Martino's Roma. It's another Roma variety that I've discovered. It is a smaller Roma, so the size is smaller, but they're really productive. They make a lot. They're great paste tomatoes. I like to have them. This is like, I don't know, the 3rd or 4th year I've had this specific variety, and it is definitely a repeat in my garden. Black plum. Okay, so I got these seeds from a local gardener friend. I saw them in her garden. She gave me a little tour. Her plant was packed with fruit, so she gave me one to save seeds from, and so I've never grown it before, but I'm trying it this year for the first time. So it's called Black Plum, and it is similar size to like a paste tomato, if I remember correctly. So we will see how this does in my garden. It's a new to me variety this year. Yes, that is a rooster in the background. We have lots of chickens, and they get over into the yard. Even though they have like 3 acres of a field out there, they like to be over here making a mess of my wood chips and my little garden areas. That's how chickens roll. Brad's Atomic Grape. This is a favorite of mine. I love it. It's got that tie-dyed color. A lot of times, to know if this one's ripe, it's also kind of the squeeze test because it goes through different colors as it grows. And I love this one. It's a little bit tangy. It's got a little bit thicker skin, but it is one of my favorite ones to have like on sandwiches. I put it in fresh garden salsas. I'll freeze this and use it in our different lentil stew, different sauces. But this is one I could just eat with salt. I really enjoy this tomato, and it seems like people either love it or hate that one, but for me, it is a love. I think I've grown it 6 or 7 years. I didn't mean to do that, but I've grown it as long as we've had this property, and we've owned it, I think, for 6 years. So I want to say that means 7 summer gardens, if I'm counting right, because we planted a summer garden before we moved into the house. Black Krim is one of the very first tomatoes I ever grew. My very first garden. I shared a garden in my sister-in-law's backyard. We used to live in a neighborhood where we could walk down the alley from our backyard to her backyard, and we had full shade, which was great for electricity bills. However, it was terrible for growing anything. So she shared her space with me, and I had a friend who would start her tomatoes from seeds and do tons of varieties. I swear she ruined me for wanting to always do tons of varieties. And I said, you know, pick some of your favorites, pick some heirlooms, things that are different I couldn't buy at the store, and this is one she gave me, and I love it. It's very savory. It is like a purplish, reddish purple kind of color when it's ripe, and I just love the flavor. It will always be in my garden as long as I can grow it. It is not super productive as far as amount of fruit in our area. We're very hot. We have like 115 to 120 hit in our summers more than once. And so, yeah, it's not the most productive tomato, but even getting, you know, a handful of fruit of my favorite flavor, for me, it's worth a spot in my garden. Different parts of the country, it might be more productive. It's just kind of how especially some of the heirlooms work. I also have in here, oh, that's all the different varieties here. We're gonna go look at the other place on the table and you can see kind of the sizing. Oh, I wanna tell you how I like to plant these. So what I'll do is I'll pop them out of the trays. The trays are like this. You can actually see I still have my eggplant in here. I'll pop them out and then I will dig a pretty deep hole of this potting soil and I will try to bury it deep into the cup so that it's just like barely above the soil. And that way it can encourage stronger root development while it's in the cup. It can make more roots down there. And then if it's small enough, I will add more soil as I go and kind of do that to keep it growing, almost like you would do for an indeterminate potato where you hill it up. I'll kind of do that in the cup for the tomatoes as I'm getting them ready. So they may look smaller of the actual greenery at first, but their roots are really getting nice and robust. And then that will help them be healthier plants. Okay, let's go to the other trays and see what else I have here. As I said, this is the size of the seed starter tray. It's 1 inch by inch, and those are my eggplants, and they're a little bit behind just because eggplants take longer to germinate, longer to grow, slower to grow than tomatoes. So I will cup those up once they are just, I want them to at least have some true leaves, and I only really see one that has true leaves there. Okay, let's go over here. I have all these kind of like sunning on chairs. We're trying to get as much light as we can because they're fully hardened off. They've been outside overnight for several days and I do that pretty slowly. Oh, let me get down here and show you these. When my tomatoes and peppers and even my lettuce are just barely germinated, I will bring them out for a very short time, maybe even like 15 minutes in the sunlight, direct sunlight. I know that a lot of places online don't say to do that, but I'll do it at the very start. Very, very short, because when seedlings come up in the garden and in nature, they get the sun early on. And so I want to mimic that the best I can. And so I essentially start hardening off my seedlings from their very start of life, very, very slowly. I feel like it being outside in natural light, in natural wind and environment, the best I can is the healthiest way. And then I use the lights in some ways as supplemental, but I transition them slowly. So these have actually, we've had wonderful weather, actually way too hot weather, and they have been outside overnight for several days. I don't even know, it might even be 4 days, but that all, obviously I was like gradually adding them a little bit, a little more, a little bit more, a little bit more, but even when they were in the seedling trays. And so that for me means that even these are small, I could plant them out now if I wanted to. Our temperatures are good enough, even in mid-March. I feel like we probably passed our last frost date. We've passed the one that is predicted by Farmer's Almanac. However, I never quite feel comfortable yet. So I'm gonna let these, they have room, right, to grow in the cups. They're not root bound or anything. I'm gonna keep them protected for a little bit longer. I've got a really busy weekend this weekend with a wedding, a family wedding, and so I'm not in a rush to get them in the ground. I'm gonna get them bigger and keep checking the weather to make sure there's no surprise cold things, because that has happened before. In this tray, we have Zapotec pleated. I get Zapotec pleated from Redwood Seeds as well. And this one is a very productive one, and it has kind of the little like, oh, what I guess they call them pleats, the little curvy parts that make them almost look like pumpkin shaped, you know. I like those kind of tomatoes. I think that they're pretty. And we have Kellogg's Breakfast. Kellogg's Breakfast is another yellow tomato, and it's another one that is like beefsteak kind of size, that's larger, that I had in my very first garden that was in my sister-in-law's backyard. This and black crim, and I had some sort of multicolored cherry tomato. I'm trying to remember what other ones, but I know those two were for sure in that very first garden where I grew my own tomatoes. In here we also have Thessalonica, which is kind of new to me. I'm trying to remember if I grew it last year or not. I think I might have, but I don't really remember it. So that means my tomatoes were not that productive last year. It was a hard year for me. And so this is from Redwood Seeds as well. And so it's kind of new to me, and excited to see what this one is like. It had really, really good ratings, and so I'm hoping that it does really well in our garden. We also have here, let's see, pineapple. I've grown pineapple, and some people are really productive with pineapple. I had kind of a mixed fruitfulness, but I liked the flavor, and so I wanted to grow it again. Hopefully it'll be a better year, that I'll get a better yield from everything, because it was just a very, very rough tomato year for me last year. I think it was the overwatering that happened, and then it was like so cold. Not like our last frost date last year was in February, but the lows were just so unpredictable to plant things like tomatoes and peppers in the garden that I didn't actually get stuff planted out, I think, till after Mother's Day, which I don't usually do that late. And then it was suddenly really hot. And so when it's too hot, they start to drop their blossoms. And so I was just in this situation where it was hot for a long time, but then it was cool and planted late. And so it just made it like the perfect storm to not get a lot of tomatoes actually as a harvest. Besides, we had volunteer super sweet 100s that did great. We ate so many cherry tomatoes, but the other tomatoes, they didn't do that great. Okay, in this tray, I see that we have the blue cream cherry berries. I think they're called blue cream berries. I liked these a lot. I believe these are Brad Gates one, and they're like have a little bit of that purple to them, but then they turn like a yellowish when they're really ready, and they're very like smooth type of cherry tomatoes, and they were productive for me. Sart Relois. This is one of my favorites every year. I like the colors, I like the flavor. It's like purple shoulders on a yellow tomato, and this was really productive for us. My very favorite cherry tomato is Sun Gold. I love these. These are my very favorite flavor, and they're usually pretty productive. And so I will give room to several of these plants because we do eat a lot of cherry tomatoes as our family. We eat a lot of them. And so we all reach for the Sun Gold first, that and the black cherry, which I haven't found them yet, but they are in here somewhere. Oh, here it is, black cherry. Black cherry is the other one that my kids just adore, and it's got that rich flavor. And so those two, I think, are probably our favorite cherry tomatoes of flavor-wise. We're going for flavor. And this one is called Blush. I grew this last year from Redwood Seeds, and it did really well for us. It's like the size of a Roma, but it's like a yellowish color, like a yellow salmony color when it's ready, and I liked this one a lot. It did well for me in a hard tomato year. So if we have a good tomato year, it feels like it should do even better. Sunrise Bumblebee is another one that we've grown for lots of years, and it's a little bit bigger than a cherry tomato size, and it's like an orangey, yellowy kind of color, and we love it. We grow these every year. They're always there. Is it our very favorite? No, but is it like we love it enough to always grow it? Yes, yes. All right, I'm looking for what other things. Jet Setter. This is a real small one because, I cupped it up early, but it is very, very reliable. This is one of the only hybrids I grow. Sun Gold is also a hybrid. And so this one is a pretty steady producer. It is not my top choice in flavor, but in production, this is really good. And so I like to have that in my garden to make sure that we're at least getting some good production and not just picky heirloom tomatoes that want things just right to produce. What else do we have in here? Oh, we have our tomatillos. And I love to grow tomatillos. We have a green salsa that we found a recipe to that we all really, really like. I maybe should show you guys sometime like a video of how we do it, because even my girls, my youngest turned 9 yesterday. So the whole time she was 8, and I think even the year she was 7, she could make the salsa verde herself with our tomatillos. This is called Mini Orange, and I got this from that friend that gave me the black plum in her garden tour. I have grown this one before, and they're a little bit bigger, about that big. I don't know what you call that size, I forgot. Maybe they call it a salad tomato, but we get a lot from there. They're productive, and so she gave that to me, and I've used that in my garden a number of years, and we like that one. Coming over to the table, I've already told you guys a whole video about my peppers, and I can link to the pepper video so you can see what peppers we're growing. We do grow a lot of pepper varieties too. I'm going to show you the stuff in this tray that we haven't talked about, and I'm going to have to look for their names to make sure. Brown sugar. I tried to grow brown sugar last year, and it was such a rough year for us. I don't remember if it gave me any tomatoes. So this is my redo year. We are going to grow brown sugar, and I've heard so many good things. I think I will like it. I hope I will like it. Juan Flame, we have grown this in the past. It's an orange tomato. I took a couple years off of it because I didn't have the seeds. I had bought the starts from a friend, and so we got the seeds. We're putting this back in our garden. As I said, orange and yellow tomatoes, I seem to always like them so much. Berries, Crazy Cherries. This is a highly productive, very mild yellow tomato, and it is very big clusters, and my kids love it. And a lot of people who don't like tomatoes like this one because it's so mild. So if you're looking for a mild, very productive cherry tomato, I would recommend Berries, Crazy Cherries. I think my chickens over here were having a squabble while I was talking. They're not even supposed to all be over here. I mean, let's see, we have 3 roosters over here. I don't know what is happening. I need to get the boys to come put them back on the other side of the fence. Oh, chickens. I have this love-hate relationship with my chickens. I really do love them. I think they're cute and quirky and fun, and I really get annoyed when they ruin the stuff in this immediate backyard. We've clipped their wings and they still somehow get over the fence. They're like parkour experts. I don't get it. Okay, looking in the next tray to see if there's ones I have not told you about. And don't mind my green pool in the back. We need to get some shock. Okay, Cherokee Purple. This is another one of the purple kind of tomatoes. I really like these kind of tomatoes, like the Black Crim, Cherokee Purple. I love that purpley, I don't even know how to say the right name, udame, or I'm going to say it wrong, but basically savory flavor. Black Beauty is like the darkest purple. It almost looks black until it's ripe, and then when you know it's ripening, it gets kind of a reddish purple underneath, and it's nice and soft and is delicious. This one has been in our garden for years and years as well because, as I said, I like that really savory tomato with some salt on it, and maybe on an open-faced toast with cream cheese and some basil and salt, and it is so good. In what I would consider like the orange group is the terracotta, and terracotta is almost like the color of terracotta. It is a very unique flavor, and we've had it in our garden quite a bit. It's been a repeat quite a bit. I'll link to a video about tomatoes I did a couple years ago right after I had shoulder surgery, and it's very long, and I talk about a lot of tomatoes I like, tomatoes that are repeats, favorites, things I wouldn't grow again in our area or our garden. But terracotta was one that I really like. I've liked for a while, so that is in our garden lots and lots of years, and it's unique. If you're looking for a unique flavor, that's a unique one, and it's a unique pretty color too. Over here down on this little chair, we have a couple that I haven't talked about. We have the taxi tomato. This I also got from that local gardener, and it is what is called a determinate tomato, where they put on a ton of fruit at once, and they're smaller and more compact, and then they slow down. And this has done really well with our temperature issues because this one will be productive for me even when other ones are taking longer to put on fruit. I feel like I can rely on taxi. However, I have had my taxi bushes die early for different reasons. So I'm gonna grow several so I can get a bunch of them. They're yellow tomatoes, and they're about this size or so. And so I'm gonna do several of those, and hopefully they'll be giving us tomatoes while the other ones are slower. They're also one of the first ones to produce for me. We have Vintage Wine, which I just love the name of that. I think it's like a modified brandy wine kind of cousin. And I tried it one year and I can't remember how much we got from it. So we're trying it again. Another orange tomato I've grown lots of years that is a hybrid, so it means kind of more stabilized, is the Chef's Choice Orange. This one is similar, I would say, to like an Amana Orange. I have seeds of both, but this is a hybrid. Amana Orange is the heirloom, and I'm growing this one this year in my garden. I've grown it on and off quite a few years. I like it. It's one that if I have a bunch of tomatoes ripe, I will consistently grab that one because I love the flavor and it's like goes really well on a burger or a sandwich. You guys, I think I showed you all the tomatoes. And so that's pretty cool. I want to go show you how those daffodil that we planted late. I had a video, can you plant daffodils in Northern California in February? And the answer is yes. You can watch that video. But also, I'm going to show you the spoiler alert by taking you to those daffodils so you can see that they are blooming. They're going to be so pretty. I am so happy about them. Let's go over there and see real fast. But before we get to the very front yard, look at that borage. Oh my gosh, it came back enormous. And you can see my bees. We keep bees. My bees are already on it and loving it, and that is just beautiful. They're also loving my Spanish lavender. Very nice. I do not know why my rosemary don't bloom, but they don't. It's really big and never blooms. Look at this. They're all coming up and a lot of them are blooming. So even though I'm imperfect and got things planted late, I still got flowers. I mean, can you even imagine these all filling in and in years to come being so many beautiful daffodils in March every year? And even though I never got to weed my irises this year, they're still rewarding me with so much purple beauty. And man, this makes me so thankful for perennials. They come back year after year. We have them almost all the way down this fence line over there as well. The goal is to get them to the very edge of the property and then all the way here. And then we'll have daffodils over there and maybe continue the irises on the other side of them. Thank you guys. I'm glad to share with you about my tomatoes and just give you little peeks of the flowers that are blooming in spring that make my heart happy. I love to share this kind of stuff with you. And it's been a hard year. Gardening has been hard. I'm not gonna lie, the last 12, 13, 14 months or so, it has been almost more of a discipline to garden than an overflow of joy. But then when I get out here and I do see things blooming and I do get a harvest, I know it's worth it. And I want to encourage anyone, if you've had a difficult year or you've had some times when you feel like you have to push through in gardening and maybe it's not like as exciting as it was in the past, I'm here to tell you it's still rewarding and it's still worth it. And you can do it. You can do it smaller. You can do it late, like my daffodils. You can forget to weed and thin, like my irises, but you know, there's still beauty and things can still bring you joy. And if you made it this far, would you like this video and maybe consider following us? I'll see you soon.